Okay, so what if the Saiyan race were not conquerors? What if, instead of being known throughout the galaxy for conquering planets and destroying civilizations, the Saiyans were known for something completely different? What if they were an honorable warrior race? A race that lived for one thing above all else: the thrill of a good fight. The Saiyans would still be incredibly powerful, competitive, and proud warriors. They would still train relentlessly and seek out strong opponents. But there would be one major difference. They would not believe that strength gave them the right to harm innocent people. They would fight to test themselves, not to conquer. And every 4 years, warriors from across the galaxy would have the opportunity to travel to planet Vegeta and compete in one of the greatest fighting tournaments in the universe. But while the Saiyan race had built an entire culture around honor and combat, one Saiyan child was about to disappear. His name was Kakarot. Kakarot, who would eventually come to be known on Earth as Goku, was born into this very different Saiyan society. Every 4 years, warriors from different planets across the galaxy would travel to planet Vegeta to participate in the Great Saiyan Tournament. The tournament wasn't just for Saiyans. Any warrior from another planet could participate, as long as they followed the rules. And like any great tournament, there were rules. Rule number 1. In a one-on-one match, the winner must knock their opponent out of the ring, force them to tap out, or have their opponent surrender. Rule number 2. Injuries were unavoidable in a fight, but fighters were forbidden from deliberately causing life-threatening injuries that could potentially kill their opponent. Rule number 3. Killing was strictly forbidden. A tournament match was about proving your strength, not taking someone's life. Rule number 4. No cheating of any kind. Fighters could not use gadgets, poison, outside assistance, or any other illegal advantage. Anyone caught cheating would be immediately disqualified. And rule number 5, weapons were only allowed in designated weapons matches. If you entered a hand-to-hand fighting division, you fought with your own strength and abilities. No weapons allowed. These rules were taken very seriously. The Saiyans believed that a true warrior didn't need to kill their opponent to prove they were stronger. One Saiyan who regularly participated in these tournaments was Bardock. Bardock came from a lower-class Saiyan family, but his natural fighting ability was anything but ordinary. His power level continued to rise, and through years of battle and training, he became one of the strongest warriors among his class. Because of his strength, experience, and ability to lead, Bardock was given opportunities that most lower-class Saiyans would never receive. He eventually became the leader of his own team of warriors, and among those warriors was his eldest son, Raditz. Raditz was raised as a Saiyan warrior and grew up alongside his younger brother, Kakarot. Unlike the version of the story we know from the original timeline, Kakarot actually spent the first 3 years of his life on planet Vegeta. He knew his family, he knew his people, and he was being raised in the very culture that valued strength, competition, and honorable combat. His mother, Jean, was loving and protective of both of her sons. Bardock, while still being the hardened and serious warrior that he was, cared deeply about his family as well. And Raditz, as Kakarot's older brother, was already beginning to establish himself as a young Saiyan warrior. Everything seemed normal, but that was about to change, because at only 3 years old, Kakarot was about to accidentally disappear from planet Vegeta, and no one, not Bardock, not Jean, and not even Raditz, would know where he had gone. Now, this is where Kakarot's story begins to take a completely different turn. At only 3 years old, Kakarot was taken on a supervised field trip through one of the Saiyan facilities where their space pods were stored and maintained. Like any curious child, Kakarot became fascinated by the pods. While the adults were busy supervising the other children, Kakarot wandered away from the group and began exploring the facility on his own. Eventually, he came across one of the Saiyan space pods. Curious, Kakarot climbed inside. He didn't understand what the controls did. He was only 3 years old. As he began pressing buttons and moving the controls around, he accidentally activated the pod's launch sequence. Before anyone could reach him, the pod launched from planet Vegeta with Kakarot still inside. The people at the facility immediately realized what had happened and tried to track the pod. But there was a problem. During the launch and the journey through space, the pod suffered damage. The communication system was destroyed, meaning there was no way for anyone on planet Vegeta to contact Kakarot, and no way for the pod to send a message back. Even worse, the tracking device inside the pod had also been damaged. So there was no signal, no coordinates, no communication, nothing. Planet Vegeta had absolutely no way of knowing where Kakarot had gone. Meanwhile, the damaged pod continued traveling through space. Eventually, it reached its destination, Earth. The pod crashed into the planet, and somehow the 3-year-old Saiyan survived. But the impact left Kakarot with a serious head injury. That injury caused him to lose his memories. He no longer remembered Planet Vegeta. He no longer remembered being a Saiyan. He no longer remembered Bardock, Gina, or Raditz. He didn't even remember his own name. Not long after the crash, Kakarot was discovered by an elderly martial artist named Grandpa Gohan. With no memory of where he came from, the little Saiyan was taken in and raised by Gohan. And eventually, Kakarot became known by a new name, Goku. While Goku was growing up on Earth, his family remained on planet Vegeta with no idea where he was. Gina was devastated. Bardock tried to remain strong, but he never stopped wondering what had happened to his youngest son. And Raditz, who had grown up with Kakarot, had no idea that his little brother was still alive. Years passed. Goku grew up believing he was an Earthling. He had no idea that he was actually a Saiyan, and he certainly had no idea that somewhere across the galaxy, his parents and his older brother were still out there, waiting for the day they might finally find him. But eventually, that day would come, because Raditz was going to discover that Kakarot was still alive.